So when I started my startup for the first month, it was good. It was profitable. We made 10,000 rupees in profit. For the second and third month, it started going down. We made a lot of mistakes, and by the end of the first 15 months, we had gone into a loss. We had taken loans from a couple of different people. We even had put one of our partner's house as a collateral
Oh.
to get some money from the
Uh-huh.
market. So actually, you think that it will go like this, and it went down. And then we started making a little bit of money in the end of 2016. 2017 was good. 2017 was the first year when we did $1 million in sales.
Hey, this is Meenakshi Srivastava, also known as My Boho Voyage, and I welcome you to another amazing episode of Inspiring Explorers. And as the name suggests, Inspiring Explorers is all about inspiring you with the inspiring life journeys of some of the most successful personalities from around the world. And they also share with us some of their interesting travel experiences that are not limited to sightseeing. For this episode of Inspiring Explorers, we have an inspiring explorer who is famous as the Digital Dukandaar. That's right, Srijan Bhardwaj is a digital marketing expert and internet entrepreneur who has been training, helping, and consulting business owners and entrepreneurs on how to build scalable and profitable businesses. He has mentored and coached over 40,000 plus people, and his businesses have generated $5 million plus revenue in sales in the last few years using just digital marketing. We're going to dig deeper into Srijan's journey in this episode, but before that, let me tell you that you can watch all the inspiring Explorer episodes on my YouTube channel, My Boho Voyage. MyBohoVoyage. And come connect with me on Instagram at the rate MyBohoVoyage to catch me and my guests go live on Instagram. Also, if you guys are on Clubhouse, come connect with me there as well and let's have some great conversations. All the links are mentioned in the description box below. If you're watching this or any other episode on YouTube, then please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so that you stay updated whenever I post a new video. And if you're listening to this episode on Spotify, please follow. And if on Apple Podcasts, then please subscribe and please leave a review about this show, as it helps me bring you more awesome episodes. So, without any further ado, let me welcome the digital marketing expert, Srijan Bhardwaj. So, welcome to Inspiring Explorers, Srijan. Super happy to have you on our show. So glad you made it here.
Hey, Meenakshi, thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Super excited too. And Srijan, when we talk about Srijan Bhardwaj, so firstly, what comes in our mind is a digital marketer expert and also an entrepreneur who generated 5 million plus dollars in last 5 years, if I'm not wrong. So, how did this entrepreneurial kira come into your mind? Like, how did it come, and what was your journey?
Okay, so I would say that, mostly people today have overhyped the term entrepreneur, and everyone thinks it's the latest fad. So let me put in my Instagram bio #entrepreneur. And I personally feel that this is something that people feel that they have to do something special, they have to be something special, but it's not like that. At the very core, an entrepreneur solves problems. So if you're solving problem, you can be an entrepreneur. It's just a word. You can call yourself a problem solver, you can call yourself an expert, an entrepreneur, a practitioner, a coach, a consultant. There are hundreds of titles you can give yourself. So for me personally, when I was in my college, I had this knack that I wanted to be the most popular guy. मुझे वो करना था, and I became that because of my seniors' help. I started selling party passes, and I started selling membership society passes, and I did a lot of street selling, a lot of cold calling, college fair sponsorships, a lot of different projects. And while doing all of these, मेरे mind में कभी ये नहीं था that I want to be an entrepreneur. I had never thought about it. And I still feel that a lot of people today look down on the option of doing a job, and they feel entrepreneurship is better. But I have never felt that because मैंने 4 साल part time job ही करी है. मैंने अलग अलग जगह internships वगैरह करी, and I'm really grateful to the experiences I learned. And while I was doing all of this, एक realization ये भी हुआ that I don't want to go for a engineering job. I wanted to go for something which involved a lot of communication and where I could express my creativity. Because if you have seen Three Idiots, Madhavan says कि पापा मैं इंजीनियर बनूंगा भी तो बहुत खराब बनूंगा. So that was me. कि if I go for an engineering job, I'll do a terrible job at it. So by the end of the third year, I had got really good at marketing. I had two options: either could go for online marketing or I could go for offline marketing. And I evaluated both the things, and I realized, okay, online marketing seems better because I could see in future everyone would be getting online. And this was in the year 2013 and 14. So in 2015, my college was about to end. I had got campus placements, and I had also made my first rupee in 2015 April. So after 3.5 years, I made around 3,000 rupees online in the first go, and that was like my first income. So I had got a proof of concept. I thought now this has been validated. So I just need to take this 3,000 to 30,000 and 10x it on a monthly basis, and I don't have to go for a engineering job. So that was my whole mindset. And based on this, I thought, okay, let me try something of my own. Worst case, I'll fail. Okay, no problem. I'll find a job. So उस time तक भी I never, like I see a lot of people today saying कि I don't want to go for a job. I was never rigid. Always believe you should be fluid like water. Like you can go through anything if you are fluid. If you are rigid, you'll collide with something else and it will cause some sort of like damage to you too. So when I started my startup for the first month, it was good. It was profitable. We made 10,000 rupees in profit. For the second and third month, it started going down. We made a lot of mistakes, and by the end of the first 15 months, we had gone into a loss. We had taken loans from a couple of different people. We even had put one of our partner's house as a collateral
Oh.
to get some money from the market. So actually, you think that it will go like this, and it went down. And then we also realized that there were four of us, like four friends. Two of them wanted to do something else. Two of us wanted to do something else. And that is when I also learned another thing about entrepreneurship or life, that if you are having partners in something, and let's say if a vehicle is going like this, two of them wanted to go there, two of you wanted to go there, it won't go anywhere, and it will create a tussle. So that is when I realized that you should never limit yourself just because of the people around you. Because a lot of times, and this lesson I also learned in 2019 and 2020, that a lot of times, let's say today you and I start a venture and we start in travel niche. Okay. So we start a company and now we do really good stuff. It has been a couple of years, but an unsaid expectation comes in a lot of cases that if we started something in the same market, we are always going to be doing everything together. And things that are unsaid create a lot of set confusion and a lot of set trouble. So that was my biggest lesson, that just because you're working with someone does not mean you have to do everything with them. Have your own separate life. If you want to do something, communicate with the people. And that is when we decided that, okay, let's split. Whatever we like to do, let's do that. Whatever our friends like to do, let them do that. We won't compete with each other. And until this, we had almost done like 55 or 60 lakh rupees in revenue, but we were still in a loss of around 10 lakh rupees, 5 to 10 lakh rupees. And then we started making a little bit of money in the end of 2016. 2017 was good. 2017 was the first year when we did $1 million in sales, especially in the last 9 months.
Wow.
And then yeah, after that, 2018 was good. 2019 was good. 2020 was terrible. We lost all the money we had made so far. Also lost all the savings. Had to take loans again to pay off the debt, and now debt free currently. And yeah, this is how it has been. So again, went up, came down, went up, came down, came down, came down, went up. So that kind of a journey.
Seriously, like I saw your post on social media as well, where you posted that an entrepreneurial journey is always up and down, up and down. And I think when you're starting this journey and you take that risk that most of the people don't, and then people are saying that he's very lucky, he's a millionaire, and that's not how it is. But then, like you said, COVID affected you, and then you were in loss when you initially took the risk. So, what would you suggest the young entrepreneurs who are coming into this journey? How do they not get demoralized by all these ups and downs, and how do they, cope up with it?
So see, I there are two ways to do anything. One is that you go through it softly, you endure the pain softly a little bit every single day. Okay, and it's a long and a very painful process, which we also say death by a thousand cuts. The other one is you take pain in one hard big blow and you then move forward. So I've always been the second kind of guy. Like I've done both. I prefer second technique. I simply would say someone, get rid of all of your facilities, all of the luxuries that you have today. So if you are used to going somewhere in a car, stop doing that. If you have your own vehicle, stop doing that. Stop doing that for a while so you can prepare yourself mentally that this is how it's going to feel like. Because your offline world also somewhere in your subconscious feeds how you want your online world to be, especially if you're going to be using internet for your business. So abhi kya hota hai, people are so used to living in luxuries in the offline world, and luxury can be subjective, that when they come online, when they face the struggle, they can't handle it. Now for me, I'll tell you something funny. So when I used to go to college, when actually there was just like I used to take shared auto to go to college after taking a bus. Okay, now in that shared auto there would be 6 to 8 people. Okay, and you have seen a Delhi auto. So
Ah.
I have been to my college many times with 10 people in an auto. Okay,
Mm.
now coming from a background where I was going to school in a like van. I was in one of the best schools of Delhi, and then taking a bus, and that to a DTC bus, and then again taking a shared auto. And I did this for 4 years. That got me a lot of humility,
Mm.
because when I'm traveling in an auto, there are going to be different kind of people. A lot of times I used to hold kids because there would be ladies with 3 or 4 kids. A lot of times people puked on me. A lot of times I was traveling with daily laborers, so I would be holding their instruments and tools. A lot of time I have even driven the auto because like you
Wow.
know yeah. So that got me a lot of humility, and I realized ki since I did that in my college time, I was not having any fear of feeling shame. So a lot of times what happens is people don't do something because of the social status कि मैं ये क्यों करूं, ये मैं काम नहीं कर सकता.
Mm.
And when I was in college, like I started with street selling, the fear of again feeling shame, it vanished. Because मैं बिल्कुल bottom से start किया तो वो डर था ही नहीं. And there was this guy, gave his example in a lot of sessions as well. Outside our college, वो छोले कुलचे बेचता था, and he was
Oh.
15-year-old guy, and he was making 60,000 rupees a month in profit while selling chole kulche. He used to go to school in the evening जब college खत्म हो जाता था. And I asked him, I sat with him, I understood how he was doing, because a 15-year-old guy making 60,000 rupees a month while
Seriously.
people in people graduating out of my college were making 20,000 rupees as starting salary. I was hooked. I was like क्या चल क्या रहा है ये. And learning from him, learning from the street vendors, learning from the रेडी वाला, auto drivers. So वहां से I also understood that there is something called as you have to be shameless if you want to start a business, or if you want to even succeed at a massive level in life. You have to be shameless. You have to say what is needed without thinking about the repercussions. Of course, you don't say anything out of your mouth, but what is needed in terms of your work, in terms of getting a customer, retaining a customer, and you have to do the right thing. You can't be a diplomat who can say, "Oh, I'll do this," be a people pleaser, because that messes up things. Being an entrepreneur, you have to be a straight talker at times, and I learned this from these people. Like, if I would go to that chole kulche wala and I'll say कि इसमें बटर ज्यादा लगा दो, he'll be like नहीं, जितना लगा है उतने में खाओ. And I was like, okay. And वो 10 रुपए की प्लेट होती थी पता है. And I used to see his attitude was top notch. आपको लेना है लो. He would never feel कि वो 10 रुपए का बेच रहा है. For him it was a meal.
Mm.
हम बोलते थे प्लेट, वो बोलता था खाना. So
Mm.
that difference I learned from him, that how he used to feel about his business, how he used to see his stuff, like his product, and that taught me the like lesson of ownership. And again, I learned it from multiple sources. So that is what I can tell anyone, that get rid of all the luxuries that you have right now. If you use an iPhone, stop using an iPhone for a month. Get the basic, सबसे जो छोटा फोन आता है ना वो मंगवा लो अपने लिए,
True, true.
and use that. And I have a friend who, like in COVID-19, since a lot of businesses were impacted, he had to sell his car, he had to sell his iPhone. And
Mm.
it was really hard for him because he comes from
Mm.
a family jahan he had always got a huge amount of money. His parents always supported him. But in COVID-19, His parents said that you have to do it on your own. Like, we have always been supporting you. This is the one time, this is your own test. And he was crying like a baby when he was selling his iPhone.
I
And
can
this is a guy
understand.
in his 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel it.
And I was like कि तूने फोन ही तो बेचा है, वापस खरीद लियो. तो भाई आईफोन बेचा है मैंने, इट्स एन आईफोन. आई वाज लाइक हाँ, तो वापस आईफोन ही खरीद लियो. And that's what I feel. Like, if you can take away everything that you have, like, when you go for a battle, they give you an armor, and an armor can save you. But if you take away all the luxuries, you don't have any armor. Now you are just raw and real in the like land, and now you have to do what you have to do. So वहां से it builds a lot of courage, it builds a lot of strength, because अब आपको जब वो सारी चीजें वापस earn करनी है through your venture, through your idea, through your product, that will bring a feeling of self-respect, self-worth. But that will bring all of these feelings, and that will boost your self-confidence to another level. So whenever someone personally comes to me and says that I want you to mentor me, I tell him that get rid of all of your luxuries. And so far, I would say out of like 500 or 1,000 people who have asked me this, I have hardly found two people who have done that. Most people can't do it. They simply don't have the guts to do it for a month.
True. I can understand that. I mean, even in terms of like this is business, in terms of traveling, also, you'll have to be ready to face anything, to be honest, any situation. Let's say आप रोहतांग गए हो, snowfall हो जाती है, and you're stuck there. Now you don't have your network, you don't have your iPhone working, you don't have anything working, and you have to live with the villagers, say. But you have to endure that life, and you'll have to be, be happy कि आप ये जिंदगी भी जी के देख रहे हो. And
Yeah,
a very good example there that you shared, that वो 15 साल का बच्चा, he's standing outside and he's selling, and he's shamelessly selling, and we are shy in selling sometimes. So uh, how do you suggest people to become that shameless seller? Should they also go talk to people outside like this, or how should they become a shameless seller?
so that's a good question, Meenakshi. But I would say a more important question is that you need to ask yourself, do you want to be a shameless seller? Because until and unless your mind is not convinced, you'll do it half-heartedly. You'll still feel कि कोई देख रहा है, कोई जान पहचान वाला ना देख ले.
हाँ.
So whenever opportunities used to come in our college, a lot of people, for example, I had to go to a lot of companies, give presentations. I used to call a lot of companies. I used to do a lot of cold calling as well. I used to go to colleges. मेरे बहुत सारे फ्रेंड्स बोलते थे यार उस कॉलेज में तो मेरे दोस्त होंगे, वो देख लेंगे, वो क्या बोलेंगे कि तू क्लास में ये सब कर रहा था, प्रमोशन करने आया था एक पार्टी की. आई वाज लाइक हाँ, तो बोला like, नहीं, वो बाकी दोस्तों को बताएंगे. So, and this is like, again, I'm talking about when we were 18, 19, and
Hmm.
still a lot of people today, they don't want to start something because they feel कि यार वो बाकियों को बता देगा. And that is why you have to ask yourself, do you want to? Because do you want to is more important than can you. Because if you're clear on do you want to, then can you becomes easier. But subconsciously, if you don't want to, then can you becomes more difficult. So the first question is, do you want to be a shameless person when it comes to starting something of your own? If the answer is yes, and it does not have to be कभी कोई सुन रहा है उसने बोला हाँ हाँ passion में कि मैं कर सकता हूँ. Ask yourself why do you want to be, and ask yourself if you want to be तो अभी तक क्यों नहीं थे? What was it that was stopping you? A lot of times I have seen people who say ki, my parents' image will go down. It's a genuine thing. Like, they feel that pressure that I'm coming from a family where if I start something of my own, everyone is going to say कि तूने अपना क्यों करा. I have a friend whose father has a lot of different businesses. He does not start a business because he says कि मेरी सारी extended family friends बोलते हैं कि तेरे को अपना क्यों करना है. Your father already has a lot of businesses. Take over any of them. And he has that legit fear since he was 18. Fear of, again, getting the social status down, because his father has created a social status like this. If there is one failure from his side, the social status decreases. So that's a legitimate fear. So you have to, again, get to know what is it that is stopping you. Because like I was giving you that example that, if there is this car and two people are trying to take it in the opposite direction. So this is the current situation here. Until and unless you don't remove what is the resistance, you can't move forward. And if you remove that, now the simplest way is start at the bottom, start calling people, start talking to people, start learning from rejections, because the second thing that stops most of the people is rejection. आपने 10 लोगों से बात करी, 10 ने मना कर दिया, आपने बोला यार मेरी किस्मत में ही नहीं है, मेरे को आता ही नहीं, मैं कर ही नहीं पाऊंगा. So that is not how it works. So imagine करो, मैं actually like your best friend comes to you, and let's say I'm your best friend. I say, Meenakshi, I started a business. Yeah, I had 10 calls in 1 month. All of them said no. I'm feeling like I should stop. What would you say to me?
I'd say keep working on it. तेरे मन
You
में है
have a
तो
good
तू
best
कर ले.
friend. Had I been you, I would say, छोड़ दे भाई, तेरी मर्जी है. But that, that's the thing, right? You would tell your best friend, you would encourage him that you should go for it. But at the same time, you would discourage yourself that I don't
हाँ,
have it. So if you could just talk
yeah.
to you like you would talk to your best friend, that automatically changes the whole perspective.
Hmm.
So I personally have a rule of 1000 that if I'm starting something new, I have to go through 1000 rejections ASAP or 1000 mini failures ASAP. Because जब तक वो नहीं होगा, तब तक I can't have exploding growth. So the fear of rejection is something that you have to get past. Thirdly, you have to understand that people are not against you, because a lot of people feel that if this person is saying no to me, वो personally ले जाते हैं that he's saying no to me.
True, true.
But sometimes people are not against you. It's just the communication.
Hmm.
And since you are new in this, you feel that everyone is going against you. So I have learned from trial and error that if someone says no to me, it's saying no to something else. And if you can find out, if you can be curious, you can remove that, because people will always say no to you. And if you just ask one person once and he says no and you move on to the next one, so I said, so your like sales conversion is going to be terrible. So you have to understand why someone is saying no. And that curiosity is going to help you. So for example, when I used to do parties, okay, I would go to let's say a group of girls. I would say, hey, like we are having this party. Why don't you guys come up? You'll have free drinks and all of this. And they'll say no. So initially, I used to go back because I thought they mean it. But then I realized after learning from other people that you should ask. So I used to ask them, hey, like, are you guys busy? So they were like, no, we don't have any plans. But I would ask, then why not? Why not come here? And they would say, yeah, we don't know any people around there. We don't know if that's going to be the place. What if we come and it's not good? And that's when I get to know why the target audience is not interested or what are their objections. So this is where you have to be curious. If you're not a curious person, you can't do excellent stuff in any field of life. So I believe that these three or four things you have to groom yourself upon once you realize that this is something you want to do. And this is a lifelong process, because curiosity today, like your today's curiosity can probably help you sell a $5 ticket stuff. Tomorrow's curiosity can help you sell a $50 ticket. And as you grow, it will be $500, then $5,000, then $50,000. The depth of the curiosity inside you will up the prices of the products that you can sell. So that's my whole like outlook on it.
True, like you said, that when they rejected, so first time you took it as a no, and the second time you tried to understand the problem. So the thing is to understand the problem and work on it and then grow rather than taking it personally कि अब तो कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता है. It sometimes
Yeah, and
happens
this is
during.
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
this I did this in the like I'm very honest. So I have seen that selling is very closely related to relationships and dating. Okay. So that is I was doing both the things parallelly. So I took one side's learning into the other, and I learned a lot, because eventually, even if you are selling, you are creating a relationship. So
True.
it's almost the same thing. You have to understand that people are not saying no to you.
True. Like Amandeep Thind also says that no rejection is personal, no rejection is final. So you can always keep asking again and again. Maybe after some time, don't
Hmm.
be too salesy, although. But then, yeah, like for example, in podcasting, also, not everybody would say yes to you. We have to work on it and uh, be able to provide value so that he cannot say no to you.
Agreed. But I also believe that there is nothing like being too salesy. Either you are salesy or you are not. So I'll give you an example. So I reached out to this girl who on Instagram for like uh, Instagram live, and back then she had 80,000 followers or something like that, and she said no to me. She said I'm busy on like with some things, and my couple of dates are taken and everything. And I simply like after reading that, I felt a hinge, like what do you say, a hunch that maybe this is the generic reply she says to everyone. So I just said that, hey, name. I did not even mention the dates. So you don't know if you're going to be booked on those dates or not. And now she was like, oh, because Then I realized that most of the people send her a date that let's do a live on this date. I had
Hmm.
not sent her a date. I just asked for it. And she was like, okay, so what are the dates when you want to do it? And I said, so you already told me that you are busy. So how about you tell me your dates? And she said that, let me get back to you. Then she did not. And then I knew because this was an important person. Like if I didn't live with this person, my audience would really like it. So 1 week later, I followed up again. She said no. 1 week later, I followed up again. She said no. 1 week later, I followed up again. She said no. And in all of these like weeks, I was going on her Instagram lives in between. I was commenting on her lives and I was making sure that she notices that this guy is relentlessly like pursuing her for the life. And finally, like as of now, I think she grew from 80,000 to 200,000 plus. And she messaged me a couple of days back that now I have a slot available. So we can do it now. So
Wow.
3 weeks of follow ups and 3 weeks of showing up finally got me something which I wanted. But again, it came at its own time. So, agar a lot of people say I don't follow up after the second time, after the third time because conversion nahi aata, but you have to understand what is the value of that conversion for you. If it's a $1 conversion, then I won't follow up after the first time as well. But if it is a very very valuable stuff for me, I will. So that is where you have to understand key cost versus effort kitna hai. And that is
Definitely.
when you say you are salesy.
Yeah, no, I think इस चीज में तो follow-ups बनते हैं. I mean, as I said, no rejection is final. Maybe sometimes also what happens is that people are actually very busy. So keep following up, like Srijan said, and then पीछे पड़ जाओ अगर important है तो पीछे पड़ जाओ.
Yeah,
Initially you told me that you went into loss, and I also read in many of your interviews and I listened it that you went in loss for about 20 months, and like you said you had to sell a lot of things and put a house on girvi of your friends. So um, what was your parents reaction at that time ki you guys are going on loss, and were they hoping that this guy is going to be a success or not?
बताएं
बताया ही नहीं, ऐसे कैसे?
नहीं बताया. मेरा बहुत सिंपल सा फंडा है कि सी व्हेन यू टेक अ लीप ऑफ फेथ व्हेन यू गो. अच्छा एक बात समझो, जब आपने डिसाइड कर लिया आपको शेमलेस बनना है, अब आपकी लाइफ बहुत डिफरेंट होगी बाकी लोगों से. सो अ शेमलेस पर्सन कैन नॉट एक्सपेक्ट द सेम रिस्पॉन्स फ्रॉम other people. He can expect a similar response from other shameless people, but not from someone like Moon. So I'll tell you a fun fact. As of now, we are going to complete 6 years in business in July, on July 1st. And 6 साल मतलब 72 months. 72 months में से I would say in around 40 months we have been lost, which means a greater part of the world. But जो महीने पैसे कमाए that compensated for everything else. And this is what we call as asymmetric returns. And it is true in business, it is true in job, it is true in freelancing. In some months you make less money, but then you get a hike, then you get a promotion, then you get that one big dream client, which compensates for everything else. And now I know, so my parents are in a government job. In government job, mein, you get a fixed salary every single month. After end of year, you get a 8% increment. And I knew कि if I would share these things with them, they will feel terrified because मेरा situation ऐसा था that already I was telling my parents कि I'll go for a job because my parents were not in the beginning supportive of the idea that you should start something of your own because everyone in my family was in a job, either a government or a private, and people who had tried a business had failed. तो मेरे तो सारे दोस्त एक्सेंचर इन्फोसिस जा चुके थे, मेरी डेट ही नहीं आई थी, ऐसा मैंने घर पे बताया. And my parents were like okay okay okay, and there was this one time when they even got me to say कि अच्छा तू यहीं जॉब कर ले in Gurgaon. So for 1 month I used to go to my, like I used to tell my parents I'm going for an interview. I used to take my like कॉलेज के सर्टिफिकेट्स एंड एवरीथिंग एल्स, और मैं अपने ऑफिस चले जाता था. और मैं रात को आता था कि इस कंपनी ने रिजेक्ट कर दिया, ये कॉल सेंटर है, ये ऐसा है, ये वैसा है. एंड आई हैड जस्ट felt this कि if I'll tell them कि अभी भी मैं नहीं कर रहा, they'll again say no. If I tell them कि लोन ले रखा है, they'll get a mini heart attack कि ऐसा कैसे कर लिया. If I tell them कि घर ही गिरवी रखा हुआ है, तो वो तो बिल्कुल ही फ्लिप हो जाएंगे. तो जब सब हो गया, लाइक लॉस वॉस कवर हो गया, उसके 3-4 महीने बाद ऐसे मैंने कैजुअली बता दिया मम्मी को एक दिन कि आपको पता है क्या. एंड शी वाज लाइक क्या. मैंने बोला हमने मत दिया घर से गिरवी रखा था, उसके अगेंस्ट लोन लिया था. माय मॉम थॉट आई वाज जोकिंग. कह रहे ऐसे मजाक नहीं करते किसी के घर के बारे में. मैं मजाक नहीं कर रहा, मैं तो सच बता रहा हूँ. एंड देन शी एक्चुअली मैंने उन्हें बिठा के बताया एंड शी वाज पिस्ड कि ऐसे कैसे करा. शी वाज लाइक दैट्स व्हाई यू शुडंट स्टार्ट अ बिजनेस. एंड आई रियलाइज कि दैट्स व्हाई आई शुडंट शेयर इट विद देम because they're still going to come from that different perspective. So
Mm.
this time whenever I go in a very deep loss, I don't share it until and unless I'm not out of it, because I know they'll go with the protective instinct. So that's why I feel I personally don't share a lot of my work or about work with people who are still not shameless in whatever they are doing.
मेरी आंख में लिटरली आंसू आ गया. दिस वाज एन
खुशी के या दुख के?
खुशी के. कि पेरेंट्स को बताया ही नहीं और फिर फाइनली जाके बता रहे कि घर गिर भी रख दिया मैंने दोस्त का.
हाँ, तो मेरे पेरेंट्स मुझसे एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि मैं कुछ बड़ा ही बम फोड़ूंगा. दे डोंट एक्सपेक्ट स्मॉल थिंग्स.
लोग यूजुअली बंक मारते हैं टू डेट पीपल एंड देन यू आर बंकिंग फॉर बिकम एन एंटरप्रेन्योर. सो
या,
गुड वन.
थैंक यू.
Okay. You also run a podcast which is named as the Apex Alphas. So could you tell us a little bit about that? What is it about? And what made you start it?
So I'll start with the last question. What made me start it? It's for my own self. मैं खुद से बहुत बातें करता हूँ. Yesterday someone asked me how many close friends do you have and which one are they? Like what are their names? मैंने सबसे पहले खुद का नाम लिया. तो that's what I feel, that my relationship with me should be on top notch. Podcast is for me as of now. Meenakshi, like मैं जो भी कंटेंट रिकॉर्ड करता हूँ मैं खुद के लिए करता हूँ और एक गो में करता हूँ. एडिटिंग वेडिटिंग नहीं करता, स्क्रिप्ट नहीं बनाता कोई. आई जस्ट रिकॉर्ड व्हाट आई फील लाइक. इसके दो रीजन है. पहला, आई रीड अ लॉट ऑफ बुक्स. आई हैव अ लॉट ऑफ कॉन्वर्सेशन विद माई फ्रेंड्स. So I simply take those conversations with my friends. Like I recently published one episode, जो genuine candid बात है. And my simple logic is, if someone will find it valuable, good for him. If someone does not find it valuable, good for him. But since I did something, I recorded it, I'll publish it. And similarly, if I read a book, now I have a habit of creating book summaries. And for me, the best way to create a book summary and learn it by heart is by narrating it to someone else. तो वो मैं नॉर्मली भी करता हूँ. मैंने कोई बुक पढ़ी, मैं अपने दोस्त को आधा घंटा बताऊंगा, भाई देख मैंने ये पढ़ी, फिर मैं किसी और को बताऊंगा, फिर मैं किसी और को बताऊंगा. एंड आई फील रेपिटेशन क्रिएट्स मास्टरी. सो दैट इज द सेम रीजन फॉर पॉडकास्ट. अब मैं किसी को बताऊंगा नहीं, बार बार फोन करेगी, देख मैंने ये पढ़ा, इसमें ये था. आई सिंपली गिव देम द लिंक कि भाई देखो सुनना हो मैंने क्या पढ़ा, ये रहा लिंक, सुन सकता है. सेकेंडली, जो मेरे पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंसेस मैं उसमें शेयर करता हूँ. दिस इज समथिंग दैट आई ऑब्जर्व्ड having throughout my life, and I felt कि these are the things that people will connect more with, and this is something which adds value for people's life. Again, पहला रीजन खुद के लिए है, तो खुद के लिए कर रहा हूँ. बट सेकेंडली अगर किसी की हेल्प होती है तो बहुत अच्छा. सो आई हैव ऑलवेज वेरी shy and introverted guy until my school life, and very timid and very like मैं बोलता बोलता नहीं था ज्यादा. And I had my own share of bad experiences and good experiences. And then I also made this post when I went from total introvert to extrovert. Like there was a series of 9 posts on Instagram. So what I feel is I have been through so many things in my life that somewhere at one point of time when I was being a shameless guy, it occurred to me that people who succeed in life are the go-getters, people who take action, people who take charge. And when I started learning more about these people, their traits, I got to know that these people are called the alphas, the leaders. Now I'm also very much fascinated by animals. So I observe, like मैं ये discovery वगैरह नहीं देखता, but I read about them, YouTube पे देखता हूँ. And वहाँ पे I got to know that the predators like lion, leopard, cheetah, ये सारे we call them the apex predators, because apex means they stay on the top of the food chain. So for me, I was already thinking of doing something, and when I had these two names like in parallel, I thought why not create something around the name the apex alphas. Like the apex means someone who's on the top, alpha means go-getter. So someone who is a go-getter and wants to be on the top, or someone who's like on the top and wants to be a go-getter. So that kind of thing. And the whole goal is to get people get rid of their emotional blocks that they have created or they don't even know have created, which are what we call as blind spots, and help them move forward. Because आज हर इंसान, जैसे हम स्कूल बैग बचपन में लेके जाते थे जिसमें हिंदी इंग्लिश मैथ्स की कॉपीज रखते थे, ऐसे अलग अलग इमोशंस की बुक्स रख के अपने कंधों पे बैग लेके चल रहा है और उसे पता भी नहीं कि वो चल रहा है. And if he can clear one subject every single month, that for him is going to be very liberating, because it has been very liberating for me. So that's my whole idea, that helps people become go-getters and the apex alphas, because one, they can succeed in life, and two, to do that they have to get rid of the current baggage that they have. And thus the podcast, like one of the most loved episodes that I have had so far was of shame and guilt, like how we hold ourselves accountable for a lot of things, and how shame and guilt come in, and how they get us to do things, because emotional, हमें किसी ने समझाया नहीं कि हाउ टू अंडरस्टैंड आवर इमोशंस. सबने बोला हिस्ट्री पढ़ो, केमिस्ट्री पढ़ो, बायो पढ़ो, ये समझो कि केमिकल्स माइंड में क्या करते हैं, ये किसी ने नहीं बताया. और आगे इमोशनल इम्पैक्ट क्या था वो किसी ने नहीं बताया. एंड इफ यू सी टुडे, पीपल आर बिकमिंग मोर रेस्टलेस and more anxious. And even though they are using gadgets, they should feel more connected, but they feel more disconnected. So that is my whole idea ki I can help, because I've been through something like this. And if I can help someone else who is at my spot 6 months or 1 year back, that would be the best thing I can do. Because I feel I was again saying this yesterday, I say it almost daily. मैंने लाइफ में सारी चीजें, I was really blessed that I had someone to tell me कि भाई इस टाइम पे तू ये कर. So if I wouldn't have those people who would have told me, I wouldn't be here. And 100% of the things I have learned came from these people who told me that you should do this at this time in this way. And that got me where I am. So that's the whole idea.
Yeah, definitely. I did read about the time when you were asked to make a website, and also the time when you were asked to write a book.
Yeah.
So, in terms of, let's say, COVID, so COVID has affected a lot of people, and it did affect your business as well. So, what changes it brought, and how did you again cope up with that, the challenge of COVID?
So the funny thing is that COVID started in Wuhan. Our e-commerce vendor is based in Wuhan, a few kilometers from the COVID epicenter. So that was the biggest challenge. We have still got around 3,000 t-shirts with him. So the biggest hit on us was, since he had got a lot of like t-shirts, we had to get those t-shirts reprinted in India. And then lockdown happened in India as well. So we could ship 1,000 of those, but 2,000 mein dikkat aaya. And we had paid for these t-shirts again. Then we had to pay for them again through a US vendor, because we had started getting chargebacks and disputes. So for over 1,500 t-shirts, we paid thrice, which created a lot of loss.
Yeah.
Either we could refund all the money, but since e-commerce is a very supply chain intensive business and it works on 15-day cycles, so आप advance में देते हो और फिर होता है, so everyone is saying no कि हम advance वापस नहीं कर सकते. So this is where it created a huge deficit in terms of money. So that was the biggest challenge. Secondly, the biggest blessing was, so I always feel, again, when you are in a pressured situation, you find out a way. And the way I've learned it is, so there was this time, my coach asked me कि अगर देखो अभी यहाँ से दुबई जाना हो तो कब तक पहुंचेगा. मैंने बोला कल तक. He said, if I point a gun at your mom's head, कब तक पहुंचेगा. मैंने कहा 2 घंटे. And he said, that's the difference between feeling pressure. When you feel pressure, you do things faster. So when I felt the pressure this time, and I had a huge loss, like in crores, okay, total. So I felt the pressure much bigger than anything else I had ever felt. And this time I was surely convinced कि मैं किसी को fire नहीं करना चाहता, like किसी की salary नहीं काटना चाहता, because already people are going to have a tough time. So that me and my partners, we were now more focused and more motivated towards getting out of this. So we started seeing the workarounds. We knew कि e-commerce तो इस साल अब उतना ठीक है, 3 महीने 6 महीने नहीं चलेगा, because countries are on lockdown. So what else can we do? And we had an e-commerce training program. So we started focusing more on that. Then in May and June, we started doing our own e-commerce again, and we started growing both the things. So that was the biggest thing. Secondly, we also understood that right now is the time when the hard work that we had done earlier had started paying off. Because in COVID, a lot of people wanted to learn more about e-commerce. A lot of people wanted to learn more about different things like cooking, dancing, singing, all of these things. क्योंकि वो सबके अंदर का वो creative side बाहर आ रहा था. Now, people who had already built something around these things earlier were the ones who were benefited. Because आप imagine करो, 2 shops हैं online, एक पे 1,000 रिव्यू हैं 2 साल में, और एक पे सिर्फ 0 रिव्यूज हैं, या 1 रिव्यू है वो भी 1 महीने में. you'll go for the one which has 1,000 reviews in 2 years. So
True.
that helped us a lot. We had got 500, 600 reviews in the span of 2 years, and this paid off huge, huge, huge. Because वो पहले की मेहनत ने अब पे करा. So this is another thing I learned in 2019, that the work you do today. So for example, today it's, let's say, 1st of March. For the sake of simplicity, this will pay off on 1st of October, 6 months later. आज के काम का फल आपको आज नहीं मिलेगा, 6 महीने बाद मिलेगा. And that is what I saw in COVID, कि जो हमने पहले मेहनत करी थी, that paid off. So that is how we did. And of course we had to innovate a lot, क्योंकि बहुत सारे नए problems आए. We had immediately got a lot of people signing up for the program, so we had to hire more people, had to train new people, find a new coach. So वो अलग challenges थे, but good challenges that help you grow more.
All right. So, coming towards the travel part, Srijan. So, through your work, also you know a lot about a lot of places because you cover the US market and the market outside India, so European countries and US. So, and your travel experiences that you might have had during your travels through your work or not work. So, any travel experiences that you have that you can share with us, that are not limited to sightseeing, but they are a little more touching the culture and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So the most recent ones I'll tell you. So I was in, like you were talking about, Seven Sisters. So I have been there twice. I was with my family. We were in Sikkim, and Sikkim as a state, as a city, is very different than the rest of the India.
Mm,
People are much, you won't feel it's India. People are much, much, much
true,
more
true,
calm, generous, polite, and more fashionable, like much more fashionable.
true, very
And
true.
right. So one thing that was the biggest cultural shock for me there was to know that in Sikkim, more women are doing jobs than men, and that too government jobs.
Mm,
Secondly, girls are trained in self-defense and hand-to-hand combat for their own security.
wow.
So that's almost a compulsory thing. Thirdly, there is no concept of dowry there. In fact, sometimes men have to pay dowry.
Nice.
So that was like the biggest shock for me. So our cab driver, his name was Karma. So I was like, good, another shock, like nice name. And he told us about all of these things. So basically, he was telling us कि a lot of people come, वो हल्ला वल्ला करते हैं. And there was just a case a few weeks back where there was a group of people from some part of India. They eve teased a couple of girls, and वो दो या तीन लड़कियां थी और वो पांच छह लड़के थे, और उन्होंने बहुत मारा लड़कियों ने. Like they broke their hands, their wrists, and police came and they sent them back. And that is when they, like he told me, everyone is really, really like good, but don't interfere. Like don't think this is how, like जैसे इंडिया में होता है, कहीं और जाते हो लोग वहीं बोलते, वहाँ ऐसा नहीं है. वहाँ
Uh,
people will stand up for themselves. So that
yeah.
was one. Another interesting thing was, if you remember, there was this time in 2017 or 18 जब डोकलाम इशू हुआ था बहुत ज्यादा, कि चाइना ने टूरिस्ट उठा लिए थे काफी सारे
अच्छा.
बॉर्डर से. सो नाथुला पास वगैरह के
अच्छा.
पास. सो हमारे बैच के ही थे काफी लोग जिन्हें मना कर रखा था, एंड दे स्टिल वेंट अहेड, एंड चाइना टुक 60-70 पीपल.
Oh my God.
सो उन्हें रखा 2-3 दिन मस्त. और
What are you saying?
yeah, and since it's a very less talked about area in, as when we see
Mm.
in news, especially from metropolitan cities, तो न्यूज आते आते जब तक न्यूज आई, एक हफ्ते बाद वो लोग वापस आ चुके थे. तो जब हम न्यूज में देख रहे थे, जब हमें पता, मतलब हमारे रिलेटिव्स वगैरह का फोन आया, मैं बोला हाँ वो तो वापस भी आ चुके हैं. सो दैट इज व्हेन आई रियलाइज कि हाउ डिसकनेक्टेड वी आर फ्रॉम नॉर्थ ईस्ट.
Uh,
एंड वहां
from
पे
the world, actually, from the world. The news
या
comes late and then तब तक हो चुका होता है काफी कुछ. I have an experience with Greece. Like मेरी एक friend was in Greece and जब ये Greece crisis हुआ था, so she told us before it came into the news, and like not just before, 4 5 days before, like it was a week जब तक news आई है.
या इट हैपेंस. एंड फॉर मी पर्सनली आई डोंट केयर मच अबाउट द वर्ल्ड. मेरे लिए तो पहले खुद के सिटीज वगैरह हैं कि यार इनकी न्यूज नहीं आ रही, बाकी दुनिया का क्या करूं, ग्लोबल छोड़ो. एंड आई लाइक देयर इज आल्सो दिस, हैव यू सीन दिस, बीबी की वाइंस की ना एक वीडियो है जहाँ
Hmm.
पे छोटी सी उसने बहुत पहले बनाई थी, वेयर ही इज प्लेइंग द कैरेक्टर ऑफ अ आर्मी सोल्जर। सो वहाँ पे वो टेम्पल भी है सिक्किम में, मेरे को नाम याद नहीं आ रहा, मेजर हरभजन सिंह
अच्छा.
मंदिर या ऐसा नाम है। एंड दैट इज अनदर इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग वी लर्नड, दैट द मिलिट्री created a temple on the name of a martyred soldier. एंड लास्टली मैंने वहाँ पे ऐसे लाइन से बहुत सारे टैंक्स और वो देखे थे, like you know, because we are always on a standoff. And I realized कि जैसे वहाँ पे the army personnel they were telling us a lot of times the locals they get lost, ऐसा ही, क्योंकि स्नोफॉल की वजह से रास्ते काफी बंद हो जाते हैं, काफी फिर देखना
Mm.
पड़ता है। सो हाउ दे शेयर देयर सप्लाईज, हाउ दे मेक श्योर कि ये लोग सेफ रहें। एंड इन सिक्किम देयर वाज अ रेशियो ऑफ, जहाँ पे हम लोग ये देखने गए थे, 1:1, वन आर्मी पर्सनल फॉर वन सिविलियन। So that was something where I actually got to know the like warmth and the real life situation of the army and the locals of that area. क्योंकि
Mm.
अगेन हम दिल्ली में हैं, हम वही लग्जरी में हैं बिल्कुल। वहां पे उनके लिए लग्जरी ये है कि उन्हें लाइट आज पूरा दिन रहे, उन लोगों को गर्म पानी मिल जाए, उन
Oh.
लोगों को खाने के लिए मिल जाए। सो दैट वाज वन। एंड अभी व्हेन आई वाज इन गोवा, a different experience was that this time a lot of shopkeepers were not opening their shops because they were saying foreign tourists नहीं आ रहे, तो हम shops नहीं खुल रहे।
अच्छा.
And I asked why, so they said कि यार इंडियन लोग बहुत चिक चिक करते हैं, इन्हें सामान लेना होता है 100 रुपए का, ये बोलते हैं 40 का दो, 30 का दो। फॉरेन टूरिस्ट आर बेटर, आएंगे, हम बोलेंगे 100, दिल पे 100, रीजनेबल बोलते हैं, रीजनेबल देते हैं, गो बैक। तो हमें ये नहीं चाहिए कि हम 5,000 रुपए की सेल करें दिन में और उसके लिए 4 घंटे चिक चिक करें। It's better if we sell to foreigners for 5,000 rupees in 1 hour or 2 hour. And that is where again I realized वही ownership, जो मैं छोले कुलचे वाले लड़के का एग्जांपल दे रहा था, कि you take the ownership of your work and you say यार इसको नहीं दे रहा मैं दूंगा तो
True.
इसी को दूंगा। So that was a very good experience in terms of being an entrepreneur, because that person is clear कि मैं अपनी target audience में ही रहूंगा। It's also, some people can say bad कि वो lose out कर रहा है पैसा, but on the side he's saving his mental energy
Peace. Yeah.
because he has experienced that. So it was a good, pleasant surprise. And lastly, I went to the last point of North Goa, last point of Goa, in the north, which is called Kerium or Quarium, like the foreigners say. So वहां से एक 200 मीटर की नदी है, जिसको आप तैर के जाओगे तो आप महाराष्ट्र के जंगलों में पहुंच जाओगे, सामने दिखते हैं जंगल।
Wow.
एंड वहां से पैराग्लाइडिंग वगैरह होती है, केव्स हैं, बीचेस हैं, साइलेंट बीचेस हैं सारे,
अच्छा.
लाइक शोर वोर नहीं है बिल्कुल भी। एंड यू वोंट फाइंड मोर देन 20 people on any beach. So it's 20 kilometers ahead of Arambol. So not a lot of people go there. So going through those caves, finding the old ruins, seeing paragliding, वो was even a trek. हमने जंगल में ट्रैक करा था 2-3 किलोमीटर अंदर।
Wow.
So that was a very different experience, because गोवा में आप सोचते हो बीच पे जाएंगे, पार्टी करेंगे,
हाँ.
अगेन चिल करेंगे, बट दिस वाज समथिंग जो मेरे को एक्सपेक्टेड नहीं था कि गोवा में मिल जाएगा। So this was definitely a different experience.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sounds exciting, all the things that you told us. So, Srijan, what all products do you offer as a digital marketer, and how can people connect with you for the same?
So you can connect with me on any social media platform, um, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. For the products, we mostly have t-shirts, apparel for US. So you can get that if you want. Secondly, we have an e-commerce training program called Digital Dukandaar. You can check it out. Thirdly, we have a couple of other programs, one for organic marketing, one for paid ads. So you can check them out as well. I usually don't don't ask people to go and sign up directly. I always tell people that reach out to me first. Let me know what your requirements are, because every product has an eligibility criteria. If you match the criteria, if it's going to be a good fit for you, we'll be more than happy to help. Other than that, you can go and listen to the podcast. I'm sure you'll like it, because again, like I said, it's about experiences. And I have seen that if your experiences are authentic and they're genuine, then people can connect with them and people can see that honesty. So listen to the podcast a couple of times, because some of the things will be new to you and some of the things are also not taught a lot and talked a lot in India. So ना बताई जाती है ना पढ़ाई जाती है, तो ये दोनों चीजें आपको बहुत हेल्प करेंगी। सो रिसेंटली आई फोकस्ड ऑन द पॉडकास्ट मोर ऑन थ्री थिंग्स: इमोशंस, देन मेंटल, एंड देन फाइनली फाइनेंशियल, बिकॉज आई नो कि ये तीनों चीजें बहुत कम मात्रा में सबको बताई जाती हैं। तो लेटर ऑन आई हैड लिटिल बिट ऑफ फिजिकल स्टफ एज वेल दैट आई डू, But as of now, the podcast is focusing on these three things. The next 10 episodes are going to focus on these three things as well. So planning to launch around 8 to 10 episodes in March. So let's see.
Wonderful. And I'll be providing all the links in the description box below. Please go check them out, guys. And do follow Srijan Bhardwaj on Instagram as well as listen to his podcast. You'll learn a lot about the entrepreneurial journeys, I'm sure. And I get a question from this, Srijan, that like you talked about emotions and
Mm-hmm.
mental toughness in terms of entrepreneurship, because that's important. So how do you suggest like being an entrepreneur, because there are so many ups and downs, so that mental toughness is necessary? How do you suggest people to get that mental toughness?
So two ways you can get it. Okay, one is rejection, and second is rejection. So no other way. So when I was in school, I was like I was saying earlier, very shy, very like इंट्रोवर्टेड. मैं बिल्कुल बात नहीं करता था. मेरे घर मेहमान आते थे तो मैं सोफे या टेबल के नीचे छुप जाता था. And that is how I was. So when I went to college, I had just one goal, that I wanted to be popular. And my seniors told me popular people have great communication skills. They have great amount of self confidence. और वो डरते नहीं है किसी से. वो अपनी बात रखना जानते हैं. They are great orators. I was like, okay, how to be like that? So they said that you have to get rid of your shyness. You have to get rid of your जितने भी आप अपने साथ परसेप्शंस लेकर आए हो अबाउट योर ओन सेल्फ, वो आपको छोड़ने पड़ेंगे. मैं ऐसे नहीं करता, मैं ऐसा हूँ, मैं तो सिर्फ यही करता था. दिस कांट वर्क. So you have to understand that there is going to be a new way which is going to be difficult. I was like, okay, what is this new way? So they gave me a dare and they said that you have to get rejected by 50 girls in 3 days or 5 days. Like go ask for their numbers, because they said that the for guys, like this is what I've learned, the fastest way to build a lot of self confidence is get rejected by a lot of girls in 3 days or 5 days. तो
Awesome.
ये एक अचूक रामबाण है जो मैंने कॉलेज में सीखा. मैंने आगे भी लोगों को रिकमेंड करा. एंड व्हाट हैपेंस इज, so I'll tell you what happens, Meenakshi. So when you get rejected, okay, there is a lot of pain, but after a point of time your mind starts getting used to it and your mind starts thinking why I was rejected. And for I know this for sure, for men, when they, so most of the men in India already feel a lot of shyness when it comes to talking to girls. Okay, so if you can conquer that, then you feel like मैंने ये कर लिया भाई तो मैं बेच तो कुछ भी सकता हूँ. Because now you have got rid of that whole cocoon that was enveloping you, and now you are out of it. You have broken that shell. So for me, I really feel lucky because I did that. I was very comfortable when it came to sales. Even in our ventures, like in our t-shirt business, 85% of our customers are women. And when we talk to them on support desk, when we go to calls, I could have never been this comfortable if I had never gone through that rejection. Now a lot of people will think and say that मेरे को date करना नहीं. I'm saying get rejected, which means go talk about a product, talk about your own self, get rejected. You need to feel that rejection from someone else. And especially when it comes from the opposite gender, it feels a lot heavier.
Definitely wonderful, Ramban. For the listeners and viewers, I think you guys should try this now for sure. मतलब मैं कहती हूँ public speaker बनने के लिए
Yeah,
भी ये करो. This is a good one.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, once you're rejected, and that's true. When you get that pain of rejection, you start coming out of your comfort zone better. So yeah, good seniors, I should say.
Yeah, best seniors.
Best seniors, yeah, definitely. So, Srijan, coming to the end of this episode, any last message that you would like to give to our listeners and viewers?
I'll just say that don't take random advice seriously from strangers on the internet, because a lot of people don't start क्योंकि किसी फला बंदे ने कुछ बोल दिया, ऐसा होता था जिसे आप जानते भी नहीं और आपने उसे सच मान लिया. So don't do that. Don't give the control of your life to someone else.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that message. And thank you so much, Srijan, for coming on Inspiring Explorers and sharing such amazing insights in the travel experiences that you shared. They were amazing, funny, and mind blowing. Thank you so much for giving your time and being on Inspiring Explorers.
Thank you so much for having me here, Meenakshi. Like totally loved the conversation.
Me too, me too. So, this was Srijan's inspiring life journey so far and some interesting travel experiences. Thank you so much for giving your precious time to this podcast. If this episode was inspiring and insightful, please do drop a comment on my Instagram and YouTube. @MyBohoVoyage. Also, do check out my YouTube channel @MyBohoVoyage for the video version of this episode. Please do subscribe and give a 5-star rating and hopefully write a review for Inspiring Explorers. Also, please don't forget to connect with me on Instagram and YouTube. Drop me a hi or send me a comment so that I know we are in this journey together. This is Meenakshi Srivastava, your host for Inspiring Explorers, saying goodbye. See you next week with an amazing, inspiring interview. Till then, take care.